Welcome to the Inside View. I'm Ralph Renzulli, your host. Thanks for watching. I'm delighted to have back with me Mayor Kaufman, who's here to talk about some very important issues facing Little Falls. So let's get right to it. Mayor, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, as usual.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
Great. Let's start off with this. The Common Council recently approved a referendum for the fall to change the treasurer's position from an elected one to an appointed one. Let's talk about that. Tell me why that's so important financially for Little Falls.
Going out for a vote on this, so that this is something that the council can't do. It's not a local law. This has to go out for a referendum. But it's important, when this came up a few years back, I was totally against it. I thought, we've been, electing people for generations now. Why do we need to change things? So I really didn't appreciate what was going on, and I think that it wasn't fully communicated in a way that anybody would understand. It was kind of, here it is, it's a special election, it's, kind of abrupt. The more I dug into the challenges that we have with getting the right people in, the more I realized Little Falls has just, our population decline over the years has created an environment that the geographic constraints that we're under, that they must be living inside the borders of Little Falls, not town of Little Falls, not Dalzell, not Herkimer. You have to live inside the borders. Mm-hmm. We just don't have that skill level. We don't have a number of people that are at that professional level who want the job, and those who are at that level are retired. So in the last 8 months, looking to replace Sarah George, our treasurer, she's going to be leaving soon. She's going to work for a couple of days a week in payroll, but she really wants to step down and not run again. She's got some other ideas she wants to explore and adventures that someone at her age should actually go out and explore. So I'm happy for her on one side, but on the other, she's been great to work with, and I'm going to miss her terribly. But I'm trying to find a replacement. For 8 months, I have been looking. I have interviewed people, very few, because we don't have that many inside Little Falls. And those that I've interviewed, they either are moving out or don't think they're going to stay in Little Falls. I've got people who are in town of Little Falls, but I can't use them. I've got people in Herkimer, but I can't use them. So it got to the point where I started looking at, I've got to broaden this geographic area, just like we do for our city attorney. Mm-hmm. I can go with any of the bordering communities, which would be town of Little Falls, Danube, Mannheim. Am I missing anything? I think that's it. So still, that's not much. I mean, how many attorneys are flocking to town of Danube or to Mannheim to open up their practices? They're going where people are, right? So it's been a real challenge. And looking at it, once I realized I couldn't do it with a local law to expand that, the only way to expand the geographic area is to change the elected position to an appointed position. The state dictates that an elected position has to stay within the boundaries of the community. And so that's the big challenge.
What's the skill set that you're looking for?
I need somebody at CPA level. I need someone who is senior accountant. They don't have to be a CPA, but someone who has that skill level to work with me strategically. We do a lot of, restructuring. We're collaborating. We're doing a lot of bans and bonds and things that are not the typical billing, payroll, that sort of thing. A lot of reporting. Going through deficit financing too, we're going to have a lot of quarterly reports that we're going to be involved in. And I've got to have somebody to help. This is one of the things, thank God, I have corporate experience, and I'm used to looking at spreadsheets. I'm used to getting, cash flow projections and things like that, and 3-year projections. When I came in, no one knew what I was talking about, essentially. So they were very skilled. Sarah came up to speed just because she's that type of person. Mm-hmm. She will dig until she finds answers. But she probably would have stayed had she not wanted. She's purchasing property outside of the city, and so she can't run again. And then I have her assistant, who is wonderful, and she, wants to. She's running, but it's another thing for her. She will have to move in order to be an elected position. So timing has changed. The city has changed. The environment has changed. I have to have the best possible people working in our treasurer's department. We're no longer this sleepy little town where you can get anybody who thinks they might know how to balance a checkbook to come in. This is serious business. We're very, very vulnerable.
So are you talking about an accounting degree, a finance degree? What are we looking at?
Accounting degree would be great. Finance is wonderful, and that's what Sarah has. It's strategic in a way of how to move money, bonds, investments, things like that. So she's very comfortable in that area, where someone who's been in accounting might not be.
I noticed in the budget that the budget for the treasurer's office went up like $32,000 something. Is this why? Because you're planning on having to pay somebody more, or what?
No, actually, the budget went up there because we have to hire an outside accounting firm to supplement what skill set we don't have internally.
So if you hire the right person, that might go away. That expense could go away.
That's the plan. That would be wonderful. And so right now we've been working with Bonadeo, and they have been great. They've been doing our AFRs, our yearly returns, and they've been doing a lot of the reports that I need in order to project out where we're going to be. Where do we fall off the cliff? At what month is that going to occur? I need to know those answers. Before, I think you just wander through the job and people would just... there was always enough money, and you weren't that close that you would worry about it. Now we worry about it every day. When I look at the projections for the next 3 months, it gives me heartburn. And so I'm always looking at, how do we manage this? How do we try to hang on until deficit financing comes in and some other revenue opportunities materialize?
So the referendum will be in conjunction with the elections in November, correct?
It would be. It's a part of the general election.
The voters will decide.
Yeah, and I hope they give it a second look, as I did, because we're in a very different environment. Another thing that is important when you think about the difference between appointed and elected, if you get the wrong person in as an elected individual, you're stuck with them for 4 years. You really have no authority to threaten to fire them, to do anything. That is, that an elected official can be removed by the governor. And that's usually only happened in cases where there's been, horrible theft, there's been somebody murdered somebody, that sort of thing, really serious crimes. So it's not likely. And so the other thing is you have no control over guiding that person as much as you would an appointed person. So a person that you hire specifically for the job and the skill set for the job is not working out, you move on. You get rid of them, you move to the next person, and you find somebody that can do the job. With an elected position, if you get somebody in who just kind of thinks that's a cool idea and they are incapable of doing anything, you have to not only pay them a salary, you're going to pay a salary for somebody who can do the job too, and or in our case, because we don't have that many skilled people out in our community, having the accounting firm do more and more to offset what you really need.
Yeah. So there's a downside to keeping it an elected position. Is there any downside to having it as an appointed position that you can think of?
I think people are concerned about the alliance with a mayor, for instance. Well, what if, because you would be the boss, right? A mayor would be the boss. You would dictate, the direction of what they would be working on, strategy, things like that. So there's always, with any official that you appoint or any elected official, it doesn't really matter. There is a possibility that you might have an issue where maybe it's not the best thing for the city, or maybe there's a conflict of interest that steps in.
Is that why the Common Council in the last meeting was talking about having this overlap somehow with the terms of the mayor, so that that person would report to two different mayors?
Well, what they were talking about was the fact that as a mayor, you can come in and you can remove just by choice, any appointed person that is there. So, and bring in your own people.
Okay.
And so what they decided was they didn't really want to go and change the charter for the mayor. What they were looking for is, well, does it make sense to have it overlap? It really doesn't.
They want continuity, is what
they want a continuity. If you have a good person, you want to keep a good person. I'm here to tell you, if I have a good person, there is nothing that would motivate me to move them. In fact, I would be, as a mayor, wanting to keep the very best person I could imagine in that role. So, I think it was probably something that is not as practical as what they were thinking.
So no contract. This person's going to serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
They would have a contract.
Oh, they would have a contract.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a term to the contract?
Oh, yes. Our contracts usually run, every single person that I appoint has a contract. And some of them are 3 years, some of them are 1 year, depends on the role. But, doing it for maybe 4 years or whatever. But there is a contract. There's an out clause. There's all kinds of things in there, and what their benefits would be, what their pay would be.
That's all good.
And that always is approved for appropriations with the Common Council. So it's not just the mayor's role to say, I want this person. If you can want whatever you want, but if you can't pay for it, it doesn't do you very much, good. So, but that's the thing, even with terminating someone, that you would really want, I think, to confer with the Finance Committee just to be sure that there isn't something else we can be looking at. But no one cares more about the numbers being right or that they're being accurate and there's no funny business going on with the books than the mayor, or they should be, because it is critical. The heat is going to come to the mayor if things go south.
Well, you're ultimately responsible for the whole 9
Right.
yards.
The mayor is the CEO of the operation.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I hope it works out for the city.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it's time to, and the thing of it is, if we made a wrong decision, we can go back to the voters and say, that didn't work out, let's reverse it back to what we had. But I think that considering our population and our needs right now, I think we need to expand this geographically, and I don't know of any other way.
Okay. Let's switch things up a little bit. You've been working on deficit financing with the state of New York.
For a long time. Seems like years.
Please explain.
When your revenue is less than your expenditures by a long shot, and it has been for a number of years, the city has gone through very significant fiscal stress. The taxpayers can only pay so much. There's a deficit right now. If you look at what we bring in from taxes, we bring in from property taxes about $3.5 million. Okay. Then you look at what our expenses are to run the city, and that's $7.8 million. So you see there's a difference. So where is that going to come from? And what was done previously, before I got here, was that they would live off of borrowing. So live off of loans they could take out or borrow against future revenue, things like that, to the point that that was the only way they could function. There's not, when you look at what they were running, how they were running and how we're running, not a big difference. It's pretty much the same. But there's a point in time where you can't do that any longer. And that my coming in 24 was that point in time. So the gig is up. You can't borrow anymore. We got to the point last year we couldn't make payroll in July, and thank God, we got an early AIM payment, which solved the problem. But I had to rally very quickly. They didn't even know what was in the checking account. They had no sense of where the floor was. So the city was essentially insolvent. And we've been working through that. We've been holding on with our fingernails to the point to where we could actually do something. The state offers a program called deficit financing. And what it is, it allows you to take a loan out ban for the amount of money that your funds are in the hole, okay? And so for us, that's $2.8 million. And then I also put in there for 2025 a anticipated revenue that might not hit in 25, that might hit later in 26. So another 500,000. So we went after 3.4 million, and that would be it would come to this. We'd be able to, once approved, we'd be able to ban against it. So take out a chunk of it for one thing or another that we would need to be able to hang in there and survive. And then at the end of November of 26, we would collect all of those bans and turn them into a bond and then push that out for 10 years. And so we'd be paying on that for 10 years.
And for the benefit of our viewers, ban stands for?
It's a loan.
It's a loan.
Yeah.
What's the interest charge for this loan?
Oh, it depends on the market. We usually shop the market where they bid against it, each other, and try to get the best interest rate we can. It can run on some. I think we were at 5%. It depends on the size of the ban that you're working with too. Larger, we can get a little bit better rate.
It's a bond.
It's a bond. You're essentially just going out for, but the bond is compared to a ban. A ban is temporary, where a bond is permanent. So when you have a big project, you ban for it. And then when you've got all of the money in, or this is the total cost of the project, then you roll it into a bond for long term.
So it's a bond anticipation note.
Yes.
That's what it stands for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was a simple answer. You should have said, what does ban mean? But anyway, round the barn 2 or 3 times to get to an answer.
That's okay. So this is a huge problem because we have to pay that money back, right? You have to pay it back.
If we didn't do that, the next thing would be full bankruptcy, and the state would come in and manage the city.
Yeah. What happened with all these amendments that the state required the Common Council to do emergency meetings to fix? What was going on with that? Is our state that incompetent that they couldn't get this right?
Well, I don't think they're incompetent, but I think that they are living in an antiquated world of everything is very the procedures and the protocols.
You're kinder than I am.
I'm still expecting them to like me at the end of the day.
Well, I guess you have to. Yeah.
But no, I really don't think that it's incompetence. I think that what was going on, we had our paperwork in for the deficit financing bill, right? And the bill had been written. That was April, I believe. And so it's been in for a long time. And they usually, the legislative leaders, the leadership there, they look at the state first, the county next, and then they start looking at the smaller municipalities. And they are just now getting to us a few days ago. And the few days ago meant that we had to move through changes they were making to the bill overnight and have it back. And so it was a real struggle. We did it. I have an amazing group right now of aldermen and alderwomen that they just got there. They dropped everything, came in and gave it a vote. The problem with that is that the state has to have a clean bill every single time. So if they make a change they put another dot on something, or the hyphen, or a different number, an A or a B, saying that they're changing it up. It's addendum A, addendum B, and addendum C. That's what we went through. We had to completely change the paperwork, type up a whole new batch of our resolution, vote on the resolution and the change, and then send it back to them with a new application with the right numbers and whatever we were changing on there. And then they would present it again to vote on it.
So just technicalities.
That's why we had the emergency meetings.
Technicalities that didn't affect the actual outcome. We're okay.
Yeah, no, there was nothing, I would say, material that to us. The bill, we don't originate the bill. They do in the Assembly and the Senate. Yeah. And so they were responsible for that. But there were changes that were made by the Ways and Means Committees of both the House and the Senate.
Okay. Let's talk about something else that you've been working on along with Common Council, and that's water rates. I looked in the budget, and the water budget revenue was up $246,000, 24% over 2024. That's what's in the budget. The average homeowner is going to pay about 10% more for water and about 7.5% probably for sewer.
Correct.
What is this? Is this because of you're trying to generate more revenue? Is it inflationary? What is it?
It's cost. We've got in the water itself. Last year we had a $666,000 deficit. We lost that much money out of water. Water is supposed to pay for itself based on rates. The sewer wastewater has been pretty much holding its own, but it had a little bit of dip as well. And it is the cost of the things that we're having to do, infrastructure things that are not normal everyday kind of things. Wastewater, we had a mandate for the UV. That was a state mandate for replacing the system with a complete UV infrastructure. And it's expensive. You know, we're spending 10 to 15 million more than likely by the time it's all said and done. Mandated. So it wasn't at our choosing or at our timing. Then you've got on the water side, we're replacing all of the lead lines in the city through a federally mandated infrastructure plan. That's 86% of all of the houses in Little Falls have lead lines.
Including mine.
Ours too. Yeah. If your house is built before, 1970 or something, you've got lead probably. But so it's a huge cost, and digging holes and labor and that sort of thing. And we've been running a skeleton crew for the most part and doing the best we can. But the other thing with water is we have old pipes and a lot of leaks. And so they've been out fixing the leaks because what we lose in revenue each year from the water leaks was about $300,000. Not new. 12 years ago, we were losing $285,000 every single year. But it wasn't a passion to fix it. It's a passion to fix this as quickly as we can. And that one that was behind Price Chopper, that little sinkhole there that turned out to be a bigger thing than we anticipated, we ended up getting that and another hole. We ended up with 500,000 gallons per minute, per day rather, to the good. So we dropped that number, that 300,000. I was calculating around 80,000, 89,000, somewhere in there. Yep. That will save off that 300,000. But you have to do that all the time. Yep. So we're trying, but yes, that's why we had to
I understand the expenditure part. What I don't quite understand is the revenue part. It's up, I said, $246,383. That's how much the revenue side of the budget's up. But that can't be just from water users in Little Falls. Are you selling water? Where's the rest of that revenue coming from?
Yeah, we sell water.
So
farmers, they come by different, light manufacturing. They need water. The paper mill needs water. We sell a lot of water to them. So that's commercial.
Okay. So, and that was voted in. The increases were obviously approved by the council. Mm-hmm. So we had a 6% property tax increase,
right,
and then we had this other water increase. So
right,
taxpayers are getting hit fairly heavily.
Well, here's the thing with the property tax, too. And I think people don't understand. That swimming pool cost us 3% to have the swimming pool open for 5-7 weeks out of the summer.
25,000? Is that what it was?
No, that 80,000, around 80,000, the cost to keep that open with the personnel. And you need so many lifeguards. It's all regulated as to how many people.
I thought I saw 25,000 in the budget. I might be wrong about that. Obviously, I'm wrong.
Yeah, it might have been there. It might have been one line item. There are multiple line items.
Okay.
Because DPW people have to come out on the, several times a day, check the water, check the, the levels in there to make sure it's safe. There's a lot involved in it, yeah. But and setting it up in the beginning. So it's kind of a labor-intensive thing. But the thing of it is, people don't realize that 1% increase in taxes, because we have so few properties that participate in our property taxes, 2,400 parcels. That's it, that pay taxes. That's only $35,000. I had to come up with $1.6 million to get the budget to balance. So all of the 6% was $250,000. Nothing. A drop in the bucket. But I mean, it helps. But the bucket, it's so deep that we've cut everything we possibly can cut. We've scaled back. We don't donate to other nonprofits. Everybody has to hold their own until we get through this. We've increased rates where we could.
So 45% of the properties in Little Falls are tax exempt. How does that stack up against other communities? Do you have any idea?
We're pretty high. We've got a lot. For the number of nonprofits we have, to have a comparable community that would have that, they would also have more population. So the balance is of those who pay taxes. It's a real burden to the city, and that's why when I say there's 2,400 parcels, there are more, but they're not paying taxes.
So even if half of that 45 were taxable, that would be
that would
huge
help us.
Shot in the arm.
It would really help us.
Not that you can change that, but I mean, we have not-for-profits, we have churches, we have all kinds of
right. Hospital.
Big properties in a lot of cases.
Big properties. And we started with the Housing Authority and others. There's a trend to ask them for support of some sort. And we have a projected, once they get all of their building done, pilot with Little Falls Housing for their properties. And they were generous enough to sit down with our assessor and talk about, we realize that we use services just like anybody else, and we want to pay, some part to show good faith. We need more nonprofits to do that, to work with us on something like that. It would be really helpful. Some of the nonprofits, we pick up their trash. They get water, they get sewage, they get all of the city. If EMS comes, fire, police, they're using them. And I get that they're not structured to have to pay that, but there is a trend that they're trying to help out these small communities.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought because, obviously I'm on the library board of trustees and we pay for a garbage pickup, by the way. But we also have the police department right down the street. And I have to say that there were a couple of times when we called them and they're just down the road, and it's very valuable service to have.
Yeah, it is. We, as a city, decided long ago to have full-time fire, full-time police. And it's huge for insurance reasons, for, safety. We also provide that service to surrounding communities. So It's not just Little Falls, but those surrounding communities, when they are using our services, we're paying for them, or they're paying for it through separate contracts. So taxpayers aren't paying for anybody but city.
Right. Let's look at the budget a little more closely. I picked out a few things that I just wanted to run by you.
Okay. Overall,
budgeted expenses for the general fund are up $846,937, 10% compared to 2024 actual expenses, actual budget. Police budgets increased by $200,000. Codes is up $33,540. Recreation up $49,000. State retirement is up $146,000. Police and fire retirement up $404,000. DPW up $82,600 from the 24 actuals. How do you account for that? What is it? Is this inflation we're talking about? Can you just? And I know it's tough to get into all the details, but
personnel is always a big thing, right? And the last union agreements that were made were graduated pay scales for fire and police, and in those union agreements, this would be the last year of them. So they, I don't recall the percent, but total it was like 30%, if I'm not mistaken, over the span of time. That's a lot to go up. Typically, salaries would go up 2%, 3% a year. So these were big chunks. And the reason they were doing that, they felt that would help them to be able to recruit more people to be competitive with what other cities were paying. And so that's that is helpful, but it was huge. So with payroll, our big expenditures, our big cost centers, are police and fire. And so their pay scale is dictated by whatever union agreement was made before I got here. So we're just following through. That would be a cost. Pensions go up and health insurance goes up also. We have no control over that. I mean, we bargain. We've changed our health plan up to save a little bit of money. We did, but they're going up at rates that are just unbelievable, unsustainable.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting
So-
that we should cut services or police and fire or anything like that, because I find that highly valuable for a city our size. But it's a big hit to the city.
It is.
And people need to see that in order to maintain this, taxes just have to continue to grow. And I don't know how much more the city can handle in terms of tax increases.
My opinion, no.
Yeah.
We can't keep going to the taxpayers. There's a point in time we have to come up with another solution. Other communities are running through the same problems. They're going up, 10, 15%. I was talking to Dave Potosik a couple of days ago, and he had mentioned years back that they had to go up 24% for 2 or 3 years in a row in order to balance the budget to be able to recover from whatever was going on back then. So it's not unheard of, but we have a very small population. And when Dave was talking about that, whatever year that was, we've lost a whole lot of people since then. So the burden is on a very small group of people. And we cannot we cannot possibly dig ourselves out by taxing property tax. I mean, how would we do that? And at how much would we have to go? 40%, 50% in order to be able to get what we need for expenses? The percentage is not realistic. So that's why the deficit financing is tremendously important to give us an opportunity to stabilize, go to zero, and have some lending ability to keep us going. The other thing that's important is we've been working on selling water to our neighboring communities. We have to think outside the box for the long haul. And if you look at that, the revenue from that, once we get it up and running, could be $1 million to $2 million a year, depending on the size of the community. Sewer would be even more than that. We haven't even calculated that. So the communities that want water and sewer for development reasons would be able to help sustain Little Falls. It's good for Little Falls because we have an abundance, but it's also good for them too. They've got failing wells that are putting them in a situation that they've got to do something. When you read about Herkimer and the challenges they're having, a lot of these communities, even Dolgeville, they can only produce so much water, or the quality is not as good as what they would like it to be, and it's all state governed as to the quality and how much you're outputting and all that. So that's important to get that thing going.
Yeah, we have a great commodity to sell there.
We do. And we're also looking at hydro too. So we have to be thinking for the future, but there's a gap between now and getting that in the future. And it's 3 to 5 years that we have to be able to hold on and think of some other creative things.
Yep.
And we're looking at shared services, but also looking at a bed tax next year, running that through for Airbnbs, hotels, that sort of thing. People are doing it all around us. The county's coming in and taxing, states coming in and taxing, and we're sitting here with our hands folded. We're looking at a 3%. That'll help to offset some of what we've had to go to our taxpayers to do. So, yeah, it's challenging right now, but I'm looking at everything possible to hold on. It's a revenue problem.
Speaking of everything possible, you and I have talked about reassessment of Little Falls property. Any further thoughts on that?
It's going to have to be done at some point in time here. I've talked to our assessor at length about it because he's done assessments for different communities. Right now, what happens is the state looks at our property value, and all our values have been so low that they have what they call an equalization rate. So they make the determination of a percentage. And right now our percentage equalization rate is 11%. Basically, it's 11% is bad. Okay, it's not a small number. So you're basically saying that they're having to increase the numbers up to 80 some percent right now in order to be able to tax fairly. So it's not that dramatic thing that would happen if we did reassess. If we reassessed, it would be more accurate. And right now, equalization on some large parcels, manufacturing, is heavy-handed, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, by the time you get and look at what they're saying, well, this property is worth $6 million. Well, I can drive around Little Falls. I don't know many properties worth $6 million. You're right. So it's not an exact science. But so people who are being taxed right now, it will probably be similar. Some will be a little bit less when it's
Right.
more.
Is equalization a Band-Aid for not doing the reassessment? Is that really what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Mm-hmm. Kicking the can down the road again.
We haven't assessed since, 72? I mean, it's just crazy.
Been a long time.
We need to do it. It's an expense. Going through the deficit financing, the Department of Budget, they have the restructuring board, and they have programs that we hopefully can participate in that will help us pay for that, a grant that we can pay for that. It's running about $200,000 to do a reassessment for Little Falls.
Just to wrap up the budget discussion, how do you feel about this budget? You all right with it?
It's a challenging budget, and as much as everybody looks at it and says, wow, that's a lot of money, it's not enough. We barely were able to balance it, barely. And we're going to do a modification probably in the next month or so, given what we know now. It's all about revenue.
My follow-up question was going to be, can you stick with it? That's the tough part about any budget, is sticking to it.
Well, yes, we have been. But in years past, they really never went back in and modified anything. So if they never even really took a serious look at it, I don't think, as to where the actual to budget. Now we do. We're every single month, the council gets an actual to budget paper report, so we know exactly where it is. And it takes more than that. It takes decisions where the best thing in the world can be coming along, and you have to say no. You have to have that ability to say no to a whole lot of things to stay within that budget. It's the best we could do, but we're still looking at property sales. We're looking at negotiations on different leases and things like that. We're also looking at harvesting some of the trees of the lots that we are interested in selling, and taking another look at maybe some up around the watershed that didn't get harvested, but that's pretty much not on the table these days because we need to get some trees in there to grow.
I think you had $350,000 in for the sale of property. Is that a realistic number?
Yeah, the sale of that was sale of property and the tree harvesting.
Those both timber
combined.
in. Okay.
Yeah, but we had a lot of the little lots there. We had about 37 small lots, and we were looking at an average of $5,000 a lot. If we could get, we weren't even looking at the full 30. So then there's some other things that we were looking at, a long-term lease, things like that would be interesting if it comes together. Yeah. So that's why I put the additional $500,000 into the deficit money, just in case that money doesn't come in fast enough. If we don't get it till the beginning of next year, something is delayed.
One of the streets that I always try to walk up is Mary Street because it's a hill. I like to do hills. I have to walk in the road when I go up that street because on both sides, the sidewalks are covered with grass that's like 5 feet tall. Sidewalks are all busted up. And on I think it's the west side of that street, there's a home there just above the one that Gavin owns, that brick one right on the corner.
Okay.
There's this dilapidated, falling down home that is so far beyond repair, it's unbelievable. What is going on is there any other effort in place yet to take care of these properties? I don't think that's a property that the city owns. I don't know who owns it, but it is a total mess, disaster mess.
Yeah. Well, I guess Bianca's to talk to you about the grass growing up here and there. I'll have her check into that.
It's both sides of the street.
I will.
The sidewalks are inaccessible for the most part.
Yeah.
You have to go on road.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
She's been out there, and so she's very, very proactive on making sure that we keep things clean and neat. It saves us from inviting additional problems. The building itself, we participate with the Herkimer County Land Bank, and they had two properties, one on Webster and one on Castler, that they're going to take down for us. So far, they haven't taken them down. We are looking at Loomis Street was on their list too, that the one that burned out long ago, to take that one down. They look at all of our properties. They have a list of all of our distressed or zombie properties, and I'm really wanting them to focus on the zombie properties to be able to take them down. Taking them down is expensive. Because you're talking about, last number I heard was $44,000 to take a property down. And then if there is lead abatement that needs to be done, then you can add to that the cost. So the other, thank goodness we have a number of zombie houses, but we have a lot of just distressed houses that still have some life to them. Mm-hmm. So we're working on a program we'll probably run it through Thinking Urban Renewal to manage it for us, but that we would have contractors come in, we would sell them to them, they would then fix them up and sell them. I don't want more apartments. I want actually single-family homes. So if they could be returned to single-family homes, that's a plus. But yes, I mean, we're working on it. Everything is slow, and it's frustrating. Some of these properties should have been taken down long ago. But the problem is finding who owns them and being able to get clear title to be able to take them down. Mm-hmm. You can't just, because they're ugly, go down and take somebody owns them. You have to get permission. Most of them have not paid their taxes, so they go back to the county for collection. So the county has authority over them at the moment. We can get them released by asking, but there's no sense in releasing something until we have a contractor or somebody that can do something with it.
Then you're liable for it.
Yes.
Switching things up just a bit, I think DPW does a great job in our little city, but I know they're shorthanded.
They are.
Any idea when they'll get back to a full complement of people?
We're down about 5 actually. It's just cost cutting. I don't think as much as it increased because of union and all. There were different rates in our 25 budget. There's no room for us to increase right now in DPW. So they are wonderful people. They are working harder than most people I've seen. I mean, they really do an incredible job for us, and they never seem to say no. They're always willing to come up with a solution. And so we're very, very fortunate, and I'd like to take care of the guys that we do have. And they're due for raises and things like that. That goes into that $200,000 increase, that and chemicals. And we had this year, DPW, we spent a fortune. I think it was $90,000 on salt because we had such a crazy winter. So that was unexpected. But yeah, we do have great people. And I'd like to add quickly to, we were looking at even doing some commercial garbage pickup and things like that at some point. But we don't have the staff right now to be able to do that.
As the viability of the city having its own garbage pickup, has it been reexamined, analyzed at some financially since you've been in office?
It's not, well, yes, we're always doing that sort of thing. In fact, I did compare and talk to other mayors who have outsourced it. We are really fortunate. We are, not only do we get an incredible service and do things that the outsourcing companies do not do, our guys do an immaculate job. They pick up everything. And, it's very affordable for us. In fact, other communities have asked about, can we pick up for them? So it's a good Yeah, shared services opportunity too.
Breaking even,
Breaking even.
but not making money. Breaking
Well,
even.
as far as the making money for
Well,
outsourcing,
you wouldn't be.
we would make money for outsourcing.
I should restate the question. Are you saving money by not outsourcing?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're right about the pickup. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
People put stuff out that they probably shouldn't put out, and they still
All the
take
time.
it. Yeah.
But but it's nice, and other communities really like what we have and would like to replicate it as far as what we pick up and all of that, and they can't get to it unless they could go out and get all their new trucks and all that. It's huge expense to change once you outsource. You don't have the equipment to do it, and it would be a huge hurdle.
Yeah, exactly. Big expense up front. Mm-hmm. You mentioned codes a few minutes ago, and I do agree with you. I think Bianca's doing a bang-up job so far. I know she corrected a couple issues in my neighborhood, which I'm very happy to see.
Yeah.
But the Common Council recently approved a hike in the penalties for codes violations. So tell me what those hikes were on a percentage basis or whatever, and the follow-up to that is, can you enforce it? Can you collect on these people?
The increases were depending on what the violation would be. I don't have the specifics in front of me, but we had to increase because we really hadn't looked at the fees since 2005. So we looked at all of the neighboring communities and what they were charging, and Herkimer had some good examples, and so we went by what those fees would be, so comparable to other areas, but they had to go up because you were talking about just a lot of different things that $10, $15 a fee back in 2005.
People, they'd rather violate and pay than
it's the same with the snow ban and all of the things that we did
right.
With traffic before. But it was time to update them, and it was time to take a look at how we do the penalties. So normally what happens with her and the way she's structured it is if she sees a violation, she'll put a door knocker on your front door. And it says, this is in violation of this code or whatever, and please take care of it. You've got so many days, right? Mm-hmm. If she goes back in 10 days or whatever it happens to be and nothing has changed, then the fines start happening. And if you don't pay the fine, then the next fine is going to be double that. So you really want to pay the fine, the first fine. So it's a program that works, and we've even had, if they can't afford it, we've been working with them, but essentially I've seen volunteers come up to different places that are just horrible with, say, grass cutting and things like that. And they're just taking their lawnmower after they cut their own grass and going over there and fixing it because it's bothering them. They can't stand it a minute longer. And these people are absent landlords that are from another state. They could care less. So I think it's working, but yes, we do collect. One way or another, we do collect. And if we don't collect, then we attach that to their taxes at the end of the year.
But a lot of them aren't even paying their taxes.
Well, there you go. It will have to be paid if they sell the house or do whatever they do or clear their account. The city will get reimbursed for that. So if we have to send our guys out to do it, and we will and have, it is attached to their taxes.
Okay. I've always wondered about the legal teeth behind codes enforcement, because I've heard that it's a difficult process for the city.
I think it is in some circumstances. We go by generally the New York State codes, and so with there's standards already set in place, right? And so when we have our own local codes, they are more stringent than what the state offers. But for the most part, our codes, we haven't really changed the codes. Maybe tightened up the language. How we approach things, the procedures, that's a little bit different. But
there's certain things that just get under my skin. I'll give you one example. A lot of people put their garbage out first thing in the morning. when they're really supposed to put it out that evening. So what happens is that garbage is on that curb for 24 hours, which is, so you've got, like, how many days a week do you have garbage sitting out? 24 hours.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a lot of garbage laying around. You've got rats and woodchucks and dogs, and
Yeah.
a lot of people don't put it in containers, and they're in plastic bags that get ripped open. That's always a small point, but
Well,
it's
it
always
is. It
bothered
is a
me.
codes violation to have it out when it's not the, when I would say we have more that I've noticed that will leave the empty trash cans out 2 or 3 days afterward, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And you can't just bring the trash cans to the front of your house. You have to put them along the side or in the back. Codes violation. There's a lot of things that have been on the books for years and years. But you're right. And during the time where we were having a lot of homeless coming through and they were shopping in everyone's trash, it was a problem. They were getting names. They were getting things off of mail and whatnot.
Exactly.
Anything they thought that would be worth dumpster diving for, they were grabbing it because we were putting our trash out the night before. So we warned people to wait until the morning and put it out first thing in the morning. But I can see if you're not an early riser that you would want to put it out ahead of time. But yeah, those are codes violations.
There are always positive things in the city, for any city, and there are always negative things. Well, a positive thing that's come up recently is the Inn project up at Overlook.
Yeah, interesting.
Status update. What's happening?
Well, they were ready to go. They went through planning and they were ready to go to the next step, which would be zoning. They would need a use variance for the property, meaning that it's zoned. Where they want to put that property is zoned R1, or not, yeah, R1, and it would have to be a C1, which is commercial. So part of the upper part of that property, that plat that they want to buy, is someone had changed it previously to a commercial zone, and I think maybe with the solar panels or something, but it was changed. But right where they're wanting to build the hotel spa, that is still residential. Single-family residential. So going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, they would have to appeal for a change in zoning in order to be able to build. If that doesn't happen, if it was voted down, for instance, then that project would not happen. So our zones are really important. They were masterfully divided up and looked at for years and years in the 50s and the 60s. They were reinforced why we were doing certain things. Those two properties, the Zeta property, that hilltop there, and then you've got the Millennial Court area, that property, those two properties were allocated as future growth for single-family homes. So they were both, those areas are both residential.
So obviously this is a very important project for Little Falls and for the developers, obviously, and patterned after, from what I understand, Maribo, which is a spa resort kind of facility with hotel, spa, restaurant.
I think it has the potential to be a catalyst for more growth, too. Not only would we benefit from jobs, we would benefit from sales tax revenue. And, bed tax, or, if we're at that point. But I think that it shows other communities and developers there's something really special going on here. Mm-hmm. And what else can we do? And I think that we'll find hospitality really feeds into what we do have as tourism, and I think it would even grow it. People are always looking for a getaway, especially from downstate. If they could get out of the city, come up and go to a spa, play a little golf, take a kayak on in the canal, and just enjoy life a little bit in a quiet little small town. I think it's a real advantage. So, yeah, I think it has the potential to do some really good things. It's not my vote. It comes down to what the Zoning Board of Appeals would think, because we are trading residential land that was designated as future growth for a complex like that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
I think it has merit, so I'm optimistic to see that see what everybody thinks about it.
So on the flip side of positive, The rumor is that Adirondack Bank is thinking of moving up to the corner of Albany and Main Street in that small little now vacant office facility there, which unfortunately is going to leave the old Herkimer County Trust building empty, except for maybe a couple of offices upstairs, which is, to me, extremely distressing, extremely disappointing. And this guy that owns this building doesn't seem to want to repair it. Maybe I don't know the background behind it, but how do you feel about this? I mean, here we have the bank across the street is empty. We have CVS just moved out. That's empty. I've heard some rumors about what might happen there, but here, Main Street, and I've said this before, it's not going in the right direction. It's going in the wrong direction. Tell me about this. How do you feel about all this?
Well, I take exception to going in the wrong direction, because I think that as we're growing, we had 3 new businesses come in last month. So, but yes, we're losing certain things. The Shoppers Square area, I talked to the owner of that area every week, every other week, and I have been for quite a while, and he's very invested in the city and wants to do some good things there. He's got a tenant already to take the Shoppers Square or the CVS, but he's looking at more of a master plan for that facility that I think might be exciting. And I think that we'll see where it goes, but you never know. But I think that from my perspective, it's a very positive conversation, and I think it will enhance the city. As far as Berkshire, that is also another one that there is a deal being made for that property, and they have some ideas for that one too. So it's a matter of time that we just have to be somewhat patient. After COVID, things really didn't come back. Before COVID, we were kind of on a roll. And then COVID hit, and so many of the places we love were not able to hang on. They just didn't have the bandwidth to be able to keep supporting it while the crowds were coming back. So now it's a different story. And so I think we will get there with just the enthusiasm of some of these projects that I know about that I can't talk about yet. I think that they'll feed on themselves, feed others to look at what they're doing and want to expand. But these are people who are investors who are looking at more than one thing.
Well, I hope the next time we talk, you can share some of these new prospects, because we
hope so. Yeah, I'm eager to say some things.
But getting back to the Adirondack building, are they moving because they want to downsize because of their business, or are they just don't want to repair the building, which I would think is a huge expense because it's in bad shape?
You're talking about 2 different parties, exactly. The owner of the borough building is the father, and then the sons own different components of the business. The Adirondack Bank is not a tenant, essentially. And so they're moving to, with online banking and everything, we don't do as much as going into the big lobby these days. And so their take on it, from what I've been reading in their package, is that they really don't need that much space. And it used to be a bank there where they're looking at, down in the corner there across from the library before. And then when the bank went out, so there was a drive-through there. Then when the bank went out, then the zoning had changed to accommodate the nonprofit and what Bassett was doing. Mm. So now we've got to change it back in order for them to move into that spot. But I think it's just a more of pulling it together in a smaller fashion to fit modern times versus needing a great big huge
Well, at least they're not moving out of the city.
No, they plan to stay here. And so that's going through planning and zoning. It will be next week.
Is there room for an ATM there? I can't.
I don't know.
I know there's a little bit of a drive-through back there, but I don't see how you can get in and out of there.
Well, that's part of it too, how they have to swing that. Our city engineer's been working with them on the drawings to make sure that's doable.
Okay.
Because things have changed since back when it was drive-through before.
Right.
But the building itself that remains on Main Street is challenging because it's just been challenging. That was a property that was given for a song to the owners to move into Little Falls. It was one of those deals where for $1, I'll give you this building, it's empty, and you can move in and, create a business environment here. So, and there was a grant also that was given, we believe through Urban Renewal. We're still researching.
Yeah. So
it was one of those deals that it was good for a long time, but then in hindsight, now looking back, you think, it's been challenging.
Yeah.
And I know that our attorneys involved, their attorneys involved, and so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But they do not want to repair the upper area, and that's why the scaffolding is there.
It's too bad because that four corner area is not good. I mean, M&T Bank is okay, but then you've got the old Hotel Snyder with boarded up windows that looks awful. Now you've got the scaffolding around the Adirondack building, and of course the other one is empty.
Well, Berkshire, I think you'll see that's changing hands pretty quickly, from what I understand. Snyder has had several people interested in it when looked at it just last week, I believe. And so something will happen there. It requires someone to not just purchase it, but have pockets deep enough to be able to renovate it. And that's where everybody falls in love with it, loves the idea of restoring it and all that. But you've got to have pockets deep enough to be able to.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the Berkshire building would be used for. I mean, we won't see a bank there.
No, it won't be a bank.
No, and you're not going to tell me what it's going to be.
No, we'll see. But there are a couple of different ideas for it. But I don't think the person interested in it has landed on the exact one yet.
Okay.
But so I think there are things happening. But yes, is that unfortunate, because that is probably one of the heaviest trafficked corners in the city.
Oh, yeah,
We've got
absolutely.
Lots of traffic on those corners.
Including a lot of tractor-trailer trucks that should not be on that street, and that's a whole other subject that I probably won't get into today because my blood pressure will go up. Oh, really, it's a big problem in the city.
Yeah.
And, where I am, they come down Ann Street the other day. Two converged at the corner of Ann and Monroe Street, two of them. And he had cars along with them. I sat there just waiting for but that's we won't get into that right now.
Yeah, you're talking a combination of the state road and city streets. And so, it's
I'm wondering
not
if
simple.
I'm wondering if that can't be, if 169 can't be designated as a non-truck route. Not a truck route. Mm-hmm. I've seen this in other communities where and I don't know the process to do that, but I think it is something that we should look at, because not only is it creating a traffic problem and a safety problem, they're putting a hell of a lot of pressure on those roads.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to have the state rebuild 169 as it comes through Little Falls, including sidewalks and everything. Mm-hmm. And it's getting destroyed because these trucks are huge. They're heavy. It's not only tractor trailers, but it's construction trucks, and when you think about it, it's a shorter way to go.
Yeah.
They should be coming, when they come down from 12, they come down 28. They should be going down 28 to Herkimer, because that's a state highway, onto Route 5, and then get to the thruway from there, whether they're going east or west. And they don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know. That is something to ask about. I mean, certainly they're maintaining that, which is an advantage for the city. That road. We would be taking that on if they decided to do something different. But it's something worth having a conversation about.
I wasn't even going to go that far with it, but obviously it's... let's go on. DRI, anything new with DRI in Little Falls?
We've been working. We have 3 DRI projects. We have a $600,000 Main Street improvement project that is ongoing. We've been working on it. The old Ed and Buds, the Lock 17, they're putting a roof on, if you haven't noticed that this week. And that's part of the DRI program. Mm-hmm. And we've got several things that are in the works on Main Street they just haven't unfolded yet as far as the construction and all. But we ended up, after consulting fees, with about $480,000 out of the 600 that was usable. And some of the things that we had to pause on were more environmental issues that we were dealing with. And then we've reworked the grant criteria to be able to allow for some of the small businesses to put fixtures in, maybe new pizza oven, maybe ice cream machine, new flooring. There's a wide variety of things that we can do in the smaller grant. And the smaller grant, the threshold, instead of $25,000 minimum, it would be $7,500 minimum. So a little bit easier for a lot of them to be able to participate in. So we work on it every week. There's a lot going on with it. So a lot of different phases, hoops to jump through to be able to get it pulled together. But that works really well. And then the other DRI project, the Main Street project, which is the canopy and the streetscaping, that project, that was around $3 million. And so it kind of grew from when I first was involved in it, doing the grant writing. So I want to be clear that we're paying for what we're paying for on that. And then there were also diagonal parking issues and the bike path coming down Main Street and how it was divided off with like a metal barrier. Those are renderings. I think the person who did the renderings didn't realize that we have plows that come through. Diagonal parking, we could fit more vehicles, but a lot of people had concerns about it with loading and unloading and some of the issues of traffic there and parking. So we need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. I want to have some meetings with the public to explore what types of things we might want to change in that before going out. It's been on hold because of financial considerations. We have 5 years to begin that project and get it working. I signed the papers January of 24, so we're a year and a half into it. So we're okay. The state knows we're holding until we can afford to be able to do that. Right now, I'm working all of our authority for any kind of loan, our credit authority, it goes to essentials. That means water, sewer, the things, keeping the lights on, keeping people paid. When we feel like we have enough bandwidth to be able to do some of the cosmetic things that we've been wanting to do, we will get to it as fast as we can. The other project is Sealy Street Promenade, and it's a connector from Canal Place to the Lock 17. Lock 17 is doing their bridge, their connector bridge, the Sky Bridge that we know it by, and they are still waiting for federal permits. It's very time-consuming. It can take a year or better to get those. So we are not going to do anything to pretty up the Sealy Promenade until they get their construction done. We don't, We're thinking flowers and streetscaping and paved stones or whatever they're going to put there. So big vehicles running up and down them is not a good idea. So that's pretty much all we ended up with in the DRI for the city.
I think a lot of people either forget or don't understand that you have to have money up front.
Right.
To get your project started. They don't just give you a check and say, here's the money. You have to pay for your project, pay invoices, and then wait for the state to get to reimburse.
Absolutely. And this is the thing about any state grant that we do that people don't understand. They are all reimbursable. Mm-hmm. That means we have to band, right, for every single one of them.
Which costs money.
It costs money. It ties up our credit. So just like your credit card, if you keep charging up on it, everything under the sun that is not essential, what happens is you don't have money and you're tapped out. That's where we were when I came in. We were tapped out. We had no leverage to go back to some of these places and to be able to get any money coming in. It's a very scary place to be. I'm not going back there. So yes, anything that's not absolutely necessary is not going to get done until we can stabilize a little bit better. The point is to save this city, not to put it in further decline, because we have no place to go.
Well, I'm happy to report that our public library project is out to bid.
That's great.
And hopefully...
That's a DRI project, a great one, and it's moved very quickly.
Yeah, we received $500,000, some of which we've already spent and have not been reimbursed for. There are architectural expenses and engineering expenses, which is all fine. That's all great. But this is the first phase of this project. It's just and I'm sure you're aware of this, is the elevator project, which we desperately
Right.
need. We need an elevator that will go to the third floor.
I would vouch for that.
And then after that, we'll do the third floor renovation. So
Yeah.
we were fortunate not only to get the $500,000 from the state through DRI, but we also received a grant from New York State a library construction grant,
That's great.
which is going to help us front that money
Yeah.
for this project. And
Well, it's wonderful. And, there are a couple of projects that, 2 to 3, that will not be going forward. And so I've been working with the state to see if we can reallocate that money for other projects that might have been kicked to the side as they were refining the project list at the end. So we have several, and we could even look at new things that we haven't noticed before. So we're working on it. Everything is slow. Reimbursement on a lot of grants can be 8 months to 18 months, and it's just the way the process works. So people don't realize that there's a cost to borrowing that money and the financing, and the more you get stretched out, the higher the fees are.
Yeah, it could be tough.
And, because everything is regulated, it expands the scope of many projects that could be done, outside any kind of state-funded project that could be quicker, less expensive. And so some of them have decided to just go on their own.
Okay, thanks for that. So this fall we have an election coming up. How many seats on the Common Council are up for re-election this fall?
Oh, God. Well, everybody is. The Common Council,
Okay.
everybody is running this year. And some incumbents and then others that the seats are open. So some new faces. I think you probably have seen Craig Lockwood and Laura Eisman. Mm-hmm. They were appointed by me to fill in spots where we had open seats. And they're doing a magnificent job. They're fresh eyes and energy. It's fun to see. And then we have, in different areas, we've got people running for, I believe it's one is Sam Rorta. You remember him probably. We have others. I'm trying to think who's over there. In 2, we've got a couple of people running. And 3, we have a couple of people running. So there's a lot of people running this year. So it's going to be a full plate. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
In my ward, I'm in Ward 2. We have Sally Kassler,
Uh-huh.
and we also have our producer, David Warner, running.
That's correct.
Who, as everyone knows, is your husband. And I have to ask the question, how do you feel about that? You're the mayor. I don't know that this city has ever had a mayor who had a relative or a husband or a spouse running for Common Council. I think it's pretty unique. How do you feel about that?
Well, it took me a couple of days to settle in on
That's
what
all?
I thought
Couple
about
days?
it. Now, I've worked with Dave for years and years. We've built businesses together. We've been, I know his skill set, and it's a little bit different than mine, and I really respect it. He has been running international companies for a long time. He's got the financial skills. He's got the background, people skills, and all of that. He's run multi-million-dollar companies. So I have no doubt he'd be a great asset. My concern initially was, okay, you've got so much on your plate, but the reality is he is in the room anyway. He's filming this. So he's really moving his chair from the back of the room up to sitting with all the rest of us. I think he'll do an amazing job, and I'm proud that he's willing and energetic about throwing in and trying to do more. We need more people to step up who have knowledge, have backgrounds that can help the city out. And I love when new faces are coming about to do that. As far as, when you look at, a husband and wife team, it's not novel, although it probably is for Little Falls, although we've had, appointments from the previous mayor appointing a sister to a board. We've had people who are girlfriend and boyfriend, involved. So it does happen. And as Mark Ruffing would say, he said President Kennedy brought his brother in and they worked together. So there's no law about it. If there is anything that you would have to do that might be a conflict of interest, say there was a business we were involved in or something, he would have to recuse himself for that vote, just like anything else.
I've known him quite a while now, and I have to think that he's going to tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Absolutely.
He's outspoken. He's going to disagree with you when he feels he needs to disagree, and he'll agree when he feels it's right to agree.
Dave and I have a personality. Both of us are type A personalities, and we have no shyness about speaking our mind. And I tell him what I think, and he tells me what he thinks. And I think I might have a better chance of swaying, someone else on the council than him if it's something he's really dug in about. But no, I think that we've always worked together, and so it will be an asset to me to have his thoughts and his thinking on the issues that we're facing right now, which are very difficult issues.
Great. So unless you've got something else you want to say, I'd like to end with this. You've been in office just shy of 18 months. Are we in better condition now than when you first took office?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm there every single day from 8 to 5, and I am working it. I'm working all of the problems. There are so many things that needed to be fixed. Their process and procedures. We were spending money on things we shouldn't have been spending money on. We weren't paying attention to revenue. And while we were declining in population, nobody poked their head up and said, oh, I wonder what that will do with our taxes. Well, we know what it did for our taxes. We've had a serious revenue problem for a number of years, and we have to fix it. And the things that I'm doing with regard to regional collaboration, working with the state every chance I get to be able to lift us up. So far, we've been hanging on. And that's what I was told by the Department of Budget when I was working with them initially, called them and said, okay, we're dead in the water and we can't make payroll in a month after the next. And what can I do, They said to hang on until you can get to deficit financing the following year. We, because the legislative season had already passed. So we've been hanging on. We've been consolidating everything we can consolidate and pushing it off so that we can pay it over time instead of all at once. We're paying the pension fund. We're setting aside money as best we can to take care of future bills we know that are going to be coming in. We were not working previously with cash flow projections or financials. Nobody knew. All the checking accounts were not balanced, 12 different checking accounts, and none of them were balanced in 9-10 months. There were a lot of issues to be worked on. So we're in much better shape, but we are not out of the woods. This is a very serious situation that the city is in, and it's going to take a little bit of time to dig out, but we will. I'm very committed. I think we've had the opportunity through the generosity of a lot of people and the smart thinking of others who've shared their thoughts with me to be able to hold on. This is unprecedented. We've never had this issue in the history that I can find. So it's okay. We're going to work with it. But the hand we were dealt was not the hand I thought it was going to get coming in. So you just, every day you get up and you fix more and you face the challenges and you make the best decisions you can and keep going forward.
Well, I certainly appreciate what you're doing. I think
thank you.
Going from a part-time job to a full-time job is never easy, especially for somebody who was retired at one point.
Yeah, well, that retirement didn't work out. But yeah, I was doing part-time consulting. But when you're talking about the mayor's position, we really needed full-time for a long time, I think. Yeah. I can't imagine the hours I put in and during the day, during the week, the people I'm talking to, the things I'm moving forward. There's a tremendous amount of activity. We needed that, and we didn't have it. And we should, if not having that in the mayor, a city manager should have been put in place. Somebody has to do it. And if you're not leading and you're not setting a vision, everybody is doing the best they can just to maintain. Nobody's looking at, gosh, there's a cliff that's right there. A month from now, we're going to fall off of it. Nobody was looking. And so we're looking. we know where our vulnerable spots are, that's for sure. But yeah, we needed that. And I think in the future, I hope that the community looks at putting in another full-time mayor or a city manager.
Well, that was a good update.
Yeah, it was fun.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I hope our viewers enjoyed it. I did. And that's it for me, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.